On October 24th, 2021, ourWorld ceased to exist. If you are watching this, you either miss ourWorld as much as I do, or you just want to learn about a dead MMO. Either way, welcome to Nostalgia Bait. Created by the company Flowplay in 2008, ourWorld was a social MMO targeting the tween and teen demographic. The gameplay was simple. Buy clothes, dress up your avatar, play minigames, work as either barista or waiter, socialize with other players, and do small quests for the handful of NPCs. If you never played ourWorld, you could be asking, isn't this just like Club Penguin? Or even, aren't there other MMOs that were like this back then? And I would say, yes, question mark? It had a lot of the social MMO traits that many other games had, but stylized more for tweens and teens. So, why am I talking about it? Mostly because it can, but it was also a game I grew up playing that most likely won't be rewritten anytime soon. So it's better to reminisce. Before I can fully talk about ourWorld, I gotta give context to Flowplay. Flowplay started in November 2006 by founders Derek Martin, Christian Oslien, and Doug Pearson. They were funded by Intel Capital, the creators of Skype, and many early investors, funding totaling around $7.2 million, which is about $11 million today. ourWorld wasn't Flowplay's only game. They launched an MMO called ourWorld in 2011, and a social casino game called Vegas World in 2012. Vegas World is still active now in 2026, while ourWorld was shut down in 2013 due to it never really taking off. I never played either of those games, and if I did play ourWorld, I do not remember at all. Other than that, there isn't much out there about the company before they were bought by Wind Creek Hospitality in December of 2021. Back to the main topic of the video. ourWorld was released as a beta in April 2008, and to many journalists, it had mixed reviews. There was an article on VentureBeat from April 6, 2008, calling ourWorld's barista job mechanics, and I quote, reminiscent of the failed Sims Online from years ago. Which sounds harsh, but it did feel very monotonous as you played it. The same article criticizes the $6 monthly subscription for more privileges and apartments, which wasn't common for kids' games back in the day, unlike it is today. Looking at you, Roblox. The $6 subscription and the lack of fun job mechanics weren't the only things journalists had opinions on. Article on GamesEbo called the conversations in chat shallow with the quote, "It all has the depth of a kiddie pool," which took me by surprise when I read it, but killed me because it's true. However, his comments weren't all bad. He actually liked the minigames a lot, and said adults would probably enjoy those way more than the actual chatting. I do remember a bit of how the conversations went on ourWorld. Most were people role-playing, talking about life, friend groups having conversations, people rage-baiting or bullying others, or the rare occurrence where people try to flirt with other players. I was, and still am, very introverted, so whenever I wasn't playing with friends, I stuck to the arcade or finished quests. I could talk about the journalist perspectives for a while, but a lot of articles from back then don't exist anymore, or weren't saved on the Wayback Machine, so I used two of the easiest articles I could find. Despite the mixed reviews, ourWorld had over 600,000 registrations shortly after its 2008 beta. The game didn't really grow on its own. In February 2009, Flowplay struck a distribution deal with Miniclip, which meant that it was integrated in one of the biggest gaming sites of the time. A less talked about partnership ourWorld was a part of was Tag.com in March 2009. If you're around my age, you most likely never heard of Tag.com, but Tag.com was a social discovery site, and over the years it basically turned into a dating site, which is an unexpected shift for a site that partnered with a game for tweens. And genuinely, I looked it up and I was questioning if I was on the right site for a second. In June 2009, they partnered with PopCap to release the PopCap Arcade in the Bejeweled Jewelry store, which I remember fondly. I was not joking when I said I stayed at the arcade. Plants vs. Zombies and balloons were my life. And by this point, ourWorld had hit 1.7 million users, an insane amount to think about for a social MMO. And a year later, in November 2010, Flowplay became profitable, crossing 5 million users with a 23% jump in revenue that month alone. This was only 2 years after the game launched. And in 2018, the game hit its 10-year anniversary, a long time for a social MMO to survive. Now let's look back at the aesthetics that made ourWorld memorable. Since the game was released in the late 2000s, a lot of the clothes and designs were very stylized to subcultures and trends of the time. I remember a lot of people using more alternative clothes or hairs to customize their avatars, if they had the levels and coins to do so. Coins were one of the main two currencies other than gems, which was the paid currency of the game. To get coins, players would have to accumulate flow by playing the game, then exchanging it once you had enough to get coins. It was used to buy clothes, items, and condo decorations. But back to clothing. You would pick an avatar before you created an account, using a carousel-looking UI. This was your starter look before you changed it in the customization menu. Some of the clothes were fairly basic, but there were also some great pieces available for new players. I do remember my starter avatar, because it was the blonde girl with the yellow and black top and the black capris. Or was it leggings? I genuinely don't remember what it was. Either way, as I leveled up and got gems through codes or by playing, I turned my avatar into a blue hair scene queen with glowing eyes. But in hindsight, I definitely wasn't seen. I don't remember too much about how I looked since I don't think I have any screenshots left from the time, but if I do, I'll put them up. The subcultures were pretty self-explanatory. There were emo, scene, skater, Y2K, Lolita, Decora, and other inspired outfit combinations. The more common used items were alternative hairs mixed with big wings and a lot of accessories. You can tell if someone was rich in the game by the way they took up a ton of space or was glowing. There was also a roleplay subculture that existed in multiple social MMOs at the time, where people dressed up as kids or babies. And since in ourWorld you can adjust your avatar to be shorter or taller, a lot of roleplayers would dress up and shrink themselves to be chibis. Clothes weren't the only things you can use to express yourself in ourWorld. There were sprites, or ourWorld's version of pets, condos, potions, and different vehicles you could obtain. I found out they added dragons in the game later on, and I wish I was able to have those when I was active. Anyways, potions unlock temporary or permanent effects on players. Sometimes it was for sizing you up and down, making you glow, or giving you a trail. These were coveted because everyone who played for long enough used them, especially the glowing effect. Another status symbol was sprites. Sprites were difficult to get because you usually had to be a certain level to obtain them, on top of paying a large sum of coins. But to get them without needing the level cap, you had to pay a certain amount of gems. I also think there were morphs or potions that morphed you into stuff, like Weatherby the bear mascot, though I could be completely mistaken. Now, to be completely honest, I don't remember much about the community of ourWorld. I was maybe around 9 or 10 when I started playing back in 2010 or 2011, and I usually only played alone or with one of my friends at the time. So all of my experiences were at the arcade or in my condo, talking to my friend on the house phone. But there was always someone in-game either being rude to newer or poorer players, or even trying to flirt with other players. I remember there was someone flirting with one of my friends. They were obviously a newer or poorer player, and my friend decided to use that to troll or pretend to flirt back, then dip back to her private condo instance. It is weird looking back at how common that was for players playing girl avatars to get hit on in social MMOs for tweens. Outside of bullying and flirting, there was a marriage and child mechanic where players can marry each other and adopt other players as children. I was one of my friend's kids at one point, and it was mostly used for roleplay between friends, but some real couples used it as well. There were a ton of ourWorld fan pages and blogs dedicated to the game. Some of the most popular ones are lost to time, but a few of them survived. They were used to update players about new features, items, clothing, and gem codes. Although this video was made to reminisce about a game I and many others played, we also have to talk about the reasons why ourWorld shut down. On October 19th, 2020, Flowplay released a downloadable client for the game because it could no longer run through Adobe Flash Player, which was being phased out entirely. In the following month, on November 16th, 2020, all in-game purchases were disabled, and a few of the iconic minigames like Dance Planet were removed. And Flash Player ended on December 31st, 2020. There are many theories to why Flowplay decided to shut ourWorld down. The reason they gave the player base was bad actors, which the community interpreted as pointing at one specific player or group. There are also multiple things that could have been the cause, one of which was the declining player base, low profits, and malicious activity in the game. Supposedly the amount needed to continue the game post-Flash was 1 million, though from the individual tickets shown, it was just a hypothetical. I do want to state that there have been people trying to bring ourWorld back with fan-inspired games. Games such as Maki Chat are still fairly new but have similar vibes to ourWorld. It's not very fleshed out as I'm typing the script up, but many people are using it to fill the ourWorld-shaped void in their hearts. And it's still in active development, with creators taking support through Patreon and Discord. And some players moved to Vegas World since Flowplay is still updating the game. However, they still miss ourWorld and wish it was still around. Like other social games of the time, ourWorld was beloved by the players that grew up with the game. And although we are only able to keep our memories going on through forums, Maki Chat, Reddit, the remnants of blogs that players ran, and videos like this one, we all just want to go back to Wonderland. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.